At first, it was adorable and amusing to tell my partner what she said while she was sleeping, even though it was harmless. The sky is collapsing, or we must lift the ground. We discussed whether she recalled her dream the following day, but she didn't. I hope I understood her statement that we should provide some background information on our nighttime ritual. Is for us to cuddle at first, but once it gets too hot, we stop and usually lie back on our sides. To be honest, at first I was excited to hear the entirety of her evening thoughts because she would go to sleep before me, hear what she had to say, and it was always amusing to share her words with our friends when we were in the midst of REM. But now that I'm finished, I'd rather she stop talking about how I'm going to sleep. Following the events of previous night at approximately 11:30 p.m., I was up reading back to back while she was asleep. I leaned forward from my book to listen to her mumble something, but I couldn't quite make out what she said. She is sleeping comfortably when I check at her face, so I go back to my book and become engrossed. Back into its pages, I eventually nod off, and the next thing I know, I'm awakened by I open my eyes to hear my girlfriend talking loudly, and at some point my girlfriend's eyes are wide open, and she is staring at me directly as we lay face to face that night. She is centimeters from my face, but her eyes seem empty, as if they are seeing through me. I fell in love with these eyes, man. It seems like she was trying to make them as wide as she could. Love with, and at the moment they are terrifying me to no end. Full of adrenaline and rate skyrockets, I jump out of bed and flip off the blankets. Her body remains motionless as her eyes follow me like a painting. She said, "Could you please turn that off?" After I realized that my book light was keeping her up. Now that I'm out of bed and staring at her, I can tell she's not feeling well because her body hasn't moved. Eyes dart from me to the rest of the room, and I venture to ask her, "You everyone okay?" Those eyes stare at me while I talk, but they are now stuck, staring directly into my eyes, and her breathing hasn't altered. She was clearly breathing while she was asleep when she looked directly at me and said in a "come back to bed, dearie." My lover has never phoned me. Her voice is very deep. We haven't decided on pet names yet, but they vary from Cupcake to Pumpkin Baby. It sounds like a name my grandmother would give me, so I'll find out more. Are you awake before I get back into bed with my maybe-possessed girlfriend? No answer. Darling, the gaze darts from me to the door, then the wall, and finally the ceiling. Just as I was ready to leave the room, her wide-open eyes rolled to the back of her head, appearing white. She asserts, "Of course I'm awake." Even if those eyes hang there in the faint glow of the booklight without any pupils visible. Return to bed while observing her fingers and gently tapping them on the comforter. I'm beginning to come. She has never sleepwalked before. Therefore, if she is moving her hands and examining her fingers, she is undoubtedly awake at this moment. They are all moving in separate directions, with one finger pointing straight ahead, as if she were acting in control, down, while the others are to the side. My girlfriend's hands are not those ones, are doing their best to mimic regular movement, but I say I'm going to get a drink, some water, sweetie, and I'll be right back. Can I get you anything? I'm going to run, leaving the house as soon as I cross the threshold, but my usually amiable and kind partner says I'm not permitted. Take one, she urges in those two deep, scary voices, to leave as serious as cancer. I will tear out your throat and down your neck if you step out of that door. I'm astonished, but I understand I respond that it's crucial to keep this beast from knowing that I'm in difficulty. As intriguing a proposition as it is, I believe I will and am considering. I hastily took my water bottle off the nightstand, which irritates my partner since she decides to start. She is shouting and pointing at me. It's a supernatural cry, so it was so high-pitched and bird-like that I thought my neighbors, who live 3 homes away, might ask us if they heard it. Last night, as quickly as I could, I opened the lid and soaked her in water, just like I understood what I was doing. Her eyes shut, her distorted limbs returned to normal. and she is back to sleep, I'll spend some time, possibly forever, slumbering on the couch. Please pardon any errors. I may have a concussion and my hands shake over the computer when she's awake. In summary, this is the morning following the discovery of my normally amiable and compassionate girlfriend's body. I've been aloof this morning because I was possessed in my sleep by some malevolent force. Thus, she is definitely still in shock from the incident, but she understands something is amiss. I can't tell her yet that she attempted to tear down my neck and out my throat. You know, I'm clearly exhausted. I didn't get much sleep last night, but I did spend the majority of the night awake with all the lights on. The demonic beast inside my girlfriend was able to infiltrate the living room while frantically gripping my water bottle. Control shortly after I left the room and used a dining room chair to pin it shut after giving her the eye. My hypothesis is that the beast is given control during REM based on movements and the activation delay, but I'm not sure. Spent the majority of the evening trying to get me to return to the bedroom, but with a little more emotional intelligence this time, crying out to me in a voice that was as near to my girlfriend's typical voice as possible. "Come to bed, honey, and tell me why I decide not to respond to this demon by sleeping on the couch once more." But a few moments later, the too deep, sinister Vu is back, and I'll slice the cat's throat if you don't open this door. Neck, the cat is still in the bedroom, most likely terrified, but I forgot about him. Fearfully hissing in the corner. I assume the cat is already dead, but what can I do to allow someone he trusts will eat precious kitty alive? I've watched enough scary movies to I'm aware that I must choose between dying on screen as everyone yells or doing something stupid and brave at this precise moment. I could now feel a little more pity for these folks because of how foolish I am for opening the door. People are forced to make difficult decisions when placed in impossible situations. I'm staring at the bedroom door right now, so I'm going to open the door against my better judgment to get the cat out of the room and see something moist and musky sticking out from beneath the door. I point my phone at it. I catch myself staring at it with a flashlight and realizing it's my girlfriend's tongue, pondering intrusively whether she will want to know why she has so much cat hair in her mouth tomorrow. However, this is ideal. I must try my new method with a spray bottle full of I spray the tongue with sink water as it inchworms along the door's edge, apparently seeking something to grab onto. My human flesh instantly flinches, and I can hear the body within. I decide that the collapse water is still a demon possession off switch, and I rip the chair away from it right away. I need to act, therefore I'm keeping the door shut and don't even have time to consider whether I have holy water on tap. I'm trying to open the door quickly, but Mayos's unconscious body is preventing me. It takes a lot of effort to move her ragdoll body behind the door so I can squeeze it from the inside. I'm trying not to stare at her too much, but I can see that she's perspiring a dark, greasy fluid and that the floor and bed are completely soaked. And I've come to the conclusion that the demon's perspiration is what made opening the door so challenging. She might be stuck to the ground, so be careful not to step on the monster. Super glue, I'm in the bedroom now, but I'm disappointed that I can't see the cat right quickly. I'm convinced that it must have crawled and hidden beneath the bed, because it makes sense and I'm terrified as hell. Under there now, but I'll have to get on my stomach and reach underneath the bed to see how ridiculous in my scenario. One hand is reaching beneath me while the other is pointing a spray bottle at my partner, who is sound asleep. The bed to get my cat while keeping my gaze fixed on my girlfriend. I reach blindly in the dark. I put my hand around the bed, trying to get it closer since I can feel its velvety fur. It wriggles out from my grasp as it approaches me, clearly with no intention of making this simple, but it keeps creeping under the bed more irritatedly. So I remove my eyes from my call to apply the spray after asking my partner to check where it went and finding no evidence of it. bottle down and use my phone flashlight to look beneath the bed. It's too far down for me to reach. To get a picture of it, I'll have to round to the opposite side and lift my head back out from under the bed. My lover woke up and is standing over me in a dark tower while I lay there, realizing my grave mistake. Vulnerable on the floor next to the bed, her fangs appear sharper from this perspective in the flashlight of my phone. Why didn't I? She's drooling that black, oily glue in her hair, so turn on the bedroom light. Normally, a lovely brown has slicked because it is so glossy with black paste. Its eyes are wide and frightening, as if she had just stepped out of the shower. She appears exhausted with an open bloodshot and yellow, and I agree, but it's time to leave. Just when I'm about to scuttle an exhilarating crawl around her legs and out into the open, the cat heroics can wait. Door, she uses both arms to grip both ankles. I recall her being generally kind. Her nails create small cuts, and there is no touch in this grip. She is using superhuman strength to climb inside my legs, lifting my full body weight by my legs, obviously trying to devour me from head to toe. But she is unaware that I've never kicked my girlfriend square in the teeth with both of my legs, skipping a leg day in the process. She drops me on my head with her feet, but I'm not aware of it because she's dazed. I manage to cautiously stand up, stay away from the plaster spiderweb paste, and leave the room. I reposition the chair to the proper angle with trembling hands, just in time to hear anxious knocking from the other side. Baby, it's late, so go back to bed. You'll be exhausted at work tomorrow. Stuff, and my spray bottle is still in there, and I haven't even managed to get the damn cat out. What in the world am I going to do now? When she wakes up, the possession ceases. Did any of that happen actually occurred? 2, she doesn't remember the night before, and 3, water temporarily disables. But after 2 to 3 minutes, she drools over the black goo. It sweats while possessed evaporates. The water I sprinkled this morning left the floor and bed damp. By the time I checked 5, everything was vanished, and by the time I checked 6, the cat was okay. Need assistance because she's conducting business calls in the adjacent room. I'm trying my hardest to concentrate on my own work, but my thoughts are diverted by her. I can't concentrate on my laptop screen, so I give up and accept that I won't accomplish anything meaningful today. Begin considering my next course of action. I require an exorcist. But I'm not the type to contact an exorcist. I'm the type of person laughs at the notion that they're all frauds, that you can't possess knowledge about something that doesn't exist. Obviously, I'm not religious, but I'll share my misgivings. I won't go through all of that again on my own right now, because I feel completely out of my element. But I discovered an exorcist on Craigslist, and since I'm not willing to call a church, let's get this is something from my girlfriend, who texts me to say that it is crucial that he comes over tonight. If my girlfriend finds out, her waking body doesn't know what we're going to do. Out, unable to sleep, and receiving no reimbursements. How much more could I ask for? I'm definitely not happy about the prospect of a stranger knowing my address, but since this is the slowest cello of the day, as you might guess, I'm not backing out just yet. Never in my life have I felt so nervous, physically ill, and jumped at I can't look into my girlfriend's eyes without picturing the eerie yellow tint behind them no matter what she says. She is humming joyfully in the kitchen throughout lunch, but I'm not sure if she has a strong sense of impending death. Ishes over me as I watch her cut vegetables with a knife, marking the end of the workday. My performance this evening was comparable to any Oscar winner, recalling what I was told in The Exorcist, and not coming up with I made sure to put the cat in a cozy area in the living room before I went into bed with her. Using an excuse, she leans over and gives me a good night kiss while we are reading side by side. Door and extinguishes the light on her bedside table. I'll leave mine on for the time being, thank you. My body is rigid from wanting to run, so we start spooning her, but she is unable to learn. Sense anything is off, but if I leave before she goes to sleep, I think I'll be okay. She raises her head and inquires, "Well, why is your heart beating so quickly?" I'm really terrified out. I'm alone with my book. Perhaps it's not the best idea to read horror before bed. Fortunately, she laughs at my infatuation with the mab and puts her head back on the pillow as I count down from 3. She must have been near 180 Mississippi minutes. When I wake up, I set the chair as my lock and wait. "Where are you, pumpkin?" As she didn't object. "Sleep." This sounds so much like my girlfriend's voice that I'm positive I made it up. "I'll be safe." Choose not to reply again. "It's cold without you." "Come back to bed, sweetie. I'm sure it's freezing where this thing is from." I get up to answer the front door as someone is approaching from the driveway. It's late, so don't let them in. A tall man dressed like a medieval priest is standing outside in the faint front door light. Garb resembles the original reformed Ethan Hawke from that film, but obviously with a body covered with tattoos, as shown by the inked skin that protrudes from behind his handcuffs. Which is essentially what we don't have much time to introduce ourselves, because, as one might anticipate from a Craigslist exorcist, we hear a frightening scrape from the bedroom, so I take a moment to look at the priest's face and see whether he's truly experienced with this. He appears to at least be fearless, as his expression doesn't reveal that he's dressed up. For a few moments, Buck steps outside the bedroom door and starts speaking quietly. I choose not to explain what he is going to do while holding a Bible and a tiny container of holy water. We're going to open the door, hands on the chair, and the sink water is working perfectly. I heard scratching once more, but this time I understood that it was coming from the living room rather than the bedroom. On my left, I hear the stranger gently exhale, and the cat has been observing. Normally our eyes are green, but today they are bloodshot, yellow and pupilless. Appearing around the corner, drooling black paste from its agape lips and leaving a snail-like trail of fluid behind it as it charges into the open, trying to hiss as it looks directly at the priest. But when additional fluid spills down the hardwood, the only sound that emerges is a bubbling gurgling. Are the cat's legs longer than usually, sitting at the ankle? It appears to have grown 5 inches in height. Level, but I could stand as high as my knees right now, so I silently curse. How could I have been so foolish? The cat was able to take possession of itself, and it spent the entire night in food that was soaked in sticky black oil in the bedroom, possibly using its mouth. New idea, cat initially. I'm not sure if the cat's mouth speaks or not. Shift from its fully ape-like resting posture, yet the voice escapes its lips. It's that same intense nightmare. I instructed you not to let him in, and at that moment, my girlfriend says she recognizes the voice. Need attention once more. Keep rapping your knuckles on the door and let me go. I was mentally prioritizing this scenario when I became aware of the instant I took, taking my eyes off the cat. It bounded ahead and scaled the priest's tower, body around his neck with its 2 lengthy legs, squeezing him like a snake. It keeps a boring gaze on me while I watch in horror as the priest lets go of his, trying to rip the cat's octopus-like legs from his neck. He placed a Bible in holy water on the ground, briefly succeeds and quotes what I believe to be a passage from the Bible. But the cat stops this with a swiftly guiding its tail deep up the priest's throat while choking and frenzied, unable to break free from its unbreakable hold, its claws burrowing, bleeding. It's my time to grab the holy water from the ground as it cracks into his neck, struggle with the cat's jaw and swiftly dump the jar's contents down its slime, obstructed throat. The cat is defeated for the time being and falls to the ground like a corpse, its legs racing in all directions. With a somber expression, I ask the priest, "Are you safe inside its travel carrier?" Naturally, he rubs his neck if he has ever dealt with this type of situation. It takes a lot of conviction for me to not roll physically 1,000 times. Slime strands try to blindly flee from the air, yet my eyes are happy to have you around. As I told the priest not to drink any of the black liquid, I believe there were holes in the side of my travel carrier. Now that my cat's tail has gotten deep into his neck, there might not be much hope for him, but we can talk about it. Later, a girlfriend's tearful harassment interrupts my train of thought. The doorknob trembles in the bedroom, and you don't love me. You never did. Fingers appear at the bottom of the hallway as terrible force tremors ring through it. Open this door, or I'll kill the thick oil trickling from between the splotched fingernails. Girl, the fingers disappear, and then there's a pause while glass breaks inside the room. Like any parasitic critter, it is pretending that it intends to leap out of the window because we are on the 3rd level. The sense of urgency has returned, even if it wouldn't seriously injure its priceless host. We put holy water down the cat's throat at this threat, but I'm at a loss. Throat, but its body has already transformed into what I can only call an abomination. I wonder if one of those wriggling legs will come off as I'm the alien from the thing. I feel powerless and can't remain awake, so I hide in the vent and sprout a blinking eyeball. I'll be out of breath for the rest of my life after misting my lover all night long like she's a freaking pet chameleon. The priest is choking my cat, yet he manages to whistle for us to open the door. What do? Water temporarily stops her. But it's too risky. It's a good idea to perform the rites while she is in this shape so that we can get her in the performance and then restrict her. Didn't I consider that feeling a little more courageous as the priest continues to demonstrate using himself as a resource? I started to take the chair away. Thank you, sweetie, but why did you? I've been afraid that my subconscious will never agree, so please lock me in. I hesitate, but I try to distinguish between the sincere cries of my devoted lover and the cries of a demonic beast. I was able to dismiss this unfounded request, and with a chair in hand, I took a step back from the latch clicks, and the door is silent for a single beat before she opens it. The door opens, revealing her face completely covered in gleaming black slicked hair. She appears to have grown several inches in height as her entire body enters through the door's breach. Vision, and then through her long hair, a single ringed yellow eye is visible. Look for any indication that she is still there, any place, and that she is holding a broken shard. There is no time for protest before the glass is smashed and held to her own wrist. Her frantic dodge is stopped by a second jet after the priest has already sprayed her down. Of water gets on the pajamas my mom got her for Christmas, and I will always remember that in the next moments. I felt helpless and had only a few seconds left before the demon sliced my girlfriend's hand, crunching at the wrist with the glass's sharp edge, but it's insufficient, so she chews the remainder with her mouth. Her hand was totally severed, and it splattered to the ground in a hideous, murky pool of blood and oil, leaving me speechless. Observe a human body change in front of me as her body trembles all over the world. Thrashing wildly on the ground while her skin recovers, I recall a schoolmate who suffered from seizures, and that her head needs to be protected. But I am unable to do so since the priest doesn't take the time to. My girlfriend recently lost her non-dominant hand, so he scoops her up and takes her to the. I get a mix of shell shock and a concussion after turning on the water in the shower, idly standing while I slowly gaze from the severed fist to the shower and back to the beast has been skillfully transforming our bedroom into a sort of nest, complete with walls, windows, and a ceiling, are covered in black paint that resembles night paste and drips like spoilt milk. The spiderweb of fluid covering the room makes our furnishings unrecognizable, from the ceiling fan to the bed. While the priest is cleaning his hands at the sink in the bathroom, he approaches me and shakes my shoulders visibly. Been requesting stuff from me for the past few seconds. Is there anyone at home? I must act. I need your assistance. Now that I'm back in the real world, priest is now frenzied and gritting his teeth at my seeming incapacity to accept that life will never return to normally. Do you have any shackles or rope to hold her in place? I'll get some bungee cords from my van, run to the stairs, and 3 at a time. I take the keys from the hanger and dash to the car, where I find the bungee cords, luggage and head back upstairs quickly since the priest has destroyed our medicine cabinet in an attempt to administer first aid to my as I get closer. My partner is putting pressure on my arm, so I hastily attach a single bungee cable as a temporary. We transfer her lifeless body to the bed while applying a tourniquet to stop the bleeding. Her head hanging limp, her legs and one arm restrained to the frame. I wonder how it will be a while before she transforms back into that monster, but she eventually awakens. She looks up at me, completely confused, and then sobs frantically as the agony starts. "It's okay, sweetie. All right, I understand that this is terrible, and trust me, we are working on it." A lump has appeared in my eye. Try to comfort her by sitting on the bed and kissing her forehead several times. I almost want the monster to take her back since she is in so much suffering. Control so that she can no longer feel it. Kindly, her eyes are still open when she faints, so I raise her chin in my direction and observe that hollow her pupils become opaque as they descend from brown to yellow. Madness again, with blood and tears still streaming down her face. She grins and says, "It's over you." Have I failed? That deep, all too familiar voice echoes through a sinister grin. How is this winning in this creature's eyes? It is more restricted than it was previously. Knows something that we don't. It's my girlfriend's, and it moves in my peripheral vision. Severed hand fingers leaving a trail of sludge on the floor that resembles a spider. Tracks it as it arrives near the spray bottle. Sensing that we have observed its shape moving to face us, unable to see the hand leaps, I'm struggling with the spray bottle and stumbling down the steps. Unable to speak. We must pursue it. We cannot allow it to leave the house. The priest's ties are holding you back as you violently thrash out of the bedroom. I'll do the rites after the hand. And as I go down the stairs, I hear the distant mutterings, the ritual Lord above, have mercy, Redeemer of the world. It's only a hand on us, but it could have gone further and revealed the secret. I switch on the lights as I walk since it could be worse. I take additional care as I tiptoe over black slime on the first floor to avoid getting anyhow. It makes me think of the day my girlfriend and I were together when my pet snake fled. I search for it all afternoon, but finding a snake isn't the same as finding a cat. Cats can get snakes, can enter items from both above and below. And a hand could be I've cornered it somewhere between the couch cushions inside the washing machines. But it could be outdoors now. I pretend I haven't noticed the slime trail going right behind the refrigerator. There, and make your way to the cabinet to fill a glass with water as nonchalantly as you can. My weapon is ready, so I approach the refrigerator's side and take a quick look behind it. Suddenly, a pronged silhouette appears, conceals the kitchen light, and the hand leaps from the top of it like an insect. My face was perfectly positioned by the refrigerator, and the hand still wearing my girlfriend clings to my head with her class ring, tugging my hair till it clenches using a vice grip. I place my thumb behind my upper teeth and insert my ring and pointer fingers into each eye socket. I then drop it takes both hands to take the hand away from my face and hurl it as forcefully as I can against the glass on the floor. Wall, my vision hazy. I lifted my girlfriend's confused hand off the floor, and I splash water on my face and rinse my mouth after running water over it in the sink. As quickly as possible, I fill a cooler with water and ice and toss the hand. I dash back upstairs, hoping and praying that the priest fulfilled his duties. Everything quiet, save for the cat's demonic mewls, and the priest in the other chamber is looming over my girlfriend while holding the Bible in one hand and his fingers in the other, saying something beneath his breath. Point in all directions, and when he sees me he quickly closes his Bible. However, when examining one of the pages, I discover that it is not a Bible at all, are the appearance of demonic symbols and scrolls that I can only fathom, but the priest has done his job. He claims I yell back as I carefully place my lady in the back seat after the monster has left her. When we return, I'll pay the priest, I fasten my seat belt and watch out for. When I drive to the hospital, I notice a tattoo on his arm that resembles a symbol I saw in the fake Bible. I wonder whether a hand can be surgically reattached like a finger if the husband's wife had gone into labor. Then, I question if the hand should be reattached at all, and whether I need to ask the priest to perform religious rites on a hand alone.